Our first story comes from a young woman named Amanda who had a too close for comfort encounter with a potential predator. Amanda was just 13 years old when she and her cousin decided to hit up their local playground one summer evening. It seemed like harmless fun at first, until a strange man started approaching them, trying to strike up a conversation. Amanda's gut told her something wasn't right. The man kept asking prying questions and making lewd comments. When Amanda tried to shut him down, he only became more aggressive, grabbing at her and attempting to force himself on her. It was only through sheer luck that Amanda and her cousin managed to escape, bolting from the park and hiding until the coast was clear. To this day, Amanda wonders what would have happened if they hadn't gotten away, and shudders at the thought of how many other young girls might have fallen victim to this monster masquerading as a normal man on the street. But playgrounds aren't the only hunting grounds for sickos and psychos. Our next story takes place in the seemingly safe confines of a college dorm room. A young student named Sarah had just settled in for her freshman year, excited to make new friends and memories. Little did she know, one of those friends had something far more sinister in mind. Sarah had been hanging out with a guy from her orientation group, studying together, and grabbing meals in the dining hall. He seemed sweet at first, if a bit socially awkward. But then the red flags started piling up. The guy would show up at Sarah's dorm unannounced, pleading to be let in. He'd send her constant messages, guilting her when she didn't respond right away. When Sarah tried to set boundaries, he'd fly into a rage, calling her names and threatening to hurt himself. It all came to a terrifying head one night when Sarah woke up to find the guy standing over her bed, a crazed look in his eyes and a knife in his hand. He'd somehow broken into her room while she was sleeping, intent on making sure she could never abandon him again. Sarah's blood-curdling screams alerted her neighbors, who called campus security. The stalker was arrested, but the trauma of that night would haunt Sarah for years to come. Speaking of stalkers, our third story features a real-life horror straight out of a Hollywood thriller. A young man named James had just gone through a messy breakup with his girlfriend of 2 years. As hard as it was, James knew it was for the best. His ex had always been possessive and controlling, prone to explosive outbursts and baseless accusations of cheating. What James didn't know was just how far she would go to maintain her twisted hold on him. It started with the usual post-breakup drama, angry voicemails, tearful pleas to get back together, bitter posts on social media. But then things took a darker turn. James would come home to find his apartment ransacked, his belongings destroyed. He'd get threatening messages from throwaway email accounts, detailing his every move. He even found his car tires slashed one morning, with a note that read, "If I can't have you, no one can." James went to the police, but without hard evidence, there wasn't much they could do. He lived in constant fear, always looking over his shoulder, jumping at every unexpected sound. It wasn't until his ex tried to run him off the road that he was finally able to get a restraining order. Even then, he never felt truly safe, knowing that she was still out there, obsessed and unhinged. Our fourth story is a chilling reminder that danger can strike when you least expect it. A group of college kids had just wrapped up a night of partying and were walking back to their dorms in the wee hours of the morning. Spirits were high and inhibitions were low, the perfect recipe for letting your guard down. As the group turned down a dimly lit side street, they were suddenly ambushed by a pack of angry strangers. There was no warning, no provocation, just a flurry of fists and feet, raining down mercilessly on the shocked and disoriented students. Bones were broken, teeth were knocked out, blood spattered the pavement. It was a scene of pure, unadulterated brutality. By some miracle, the group managed to break free and flee to safety. They later learned that their attackers were part of a notorious gang known for targeting drunk college kids stumbling home after a night out. It was a sickening wake-up call that violence can come from anywhere, at any time, and that even the most innocuous of outings can turn deadly in the blink of an eye. But perhaps the most terrifying story of all is the one that hits closest to home. Our final tale comes from a woman named Karen, who discovered that the greatest threat to her family was living right under their roof. Karen had always known her husband had a temper, but she never imagined he would turn that anger on their children. It started with small things, a shove here, a slap there, always when Karen wasn't around to see. But then the abuse escalated. Karen would come home to find her kids bruised and bleeding, cowering in fear of their father's wrath. When she tried to confront him, he would turn on her too, beating her until she was black and blue. Karen felt trapped, afraid to leave but even more afraid to stay. It wasn't until a particularly brutal attack landed her youngest in the hospital that she found the courage to seek help. With the support of domestic violence advocates, she was able to escape with her children and start building a new life free from fear. But the scars of those years would stay with her forever, a harrowing reminder that monsters don't always have fangs and claws. Sometimes, they wear the face of someone you love. So there you have it, 5 true horror stories that prove real life can be stranger and scarier than fiction. These brave survivors have endured the unthinkable and come out the other side, forever changed but unbroken. If you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss an upload. Leave us a comment with your own scary encounters, and thanks for tuning in to Scaratastic.